What is up, YouTube? Retro2, you're back again with another episode of the Jimbles Gaming Show. We're finally back after, I think, 2 months, and I don't really want to take big breaks like that, but, you know, whatever. I'm working on another episode as well, while I'm working on this one, so, hopefully it isn't as long as a break. I've been trying to keep it like once a month, and of course that fell apart, which is kind of hard to believe. Yeah, me doing that? Wow, that's a surprise. That's neither here nor there. Today we're going to do something special that we haven't done on the Jimbles Gaming Show yet, and that is a console review. What game console are we talking about today? You can read, can't you? I can type it down here. I don't know why. I don't know. Yeah, bad joke. This is a Sega Dreamcast. It's a really cool console for being a failed console. It released in Japan at November 27th, 1998, and came over to the States in '99, and then Europe a few days later after the North American launch. Now, the North American launch was probably the most iconic launch for the Dreamcast, and that it released on September 9th, 1999.
The day you have studied for. Utilize your superior skills.
9999. And their ad campaign hyped it to no end. I mean, they had so many ads from 1998 all the way up to the launch. Just, you know, like It's Thinking.
Sega Dreamcast. It's thinking.
After they hyped it up, it released in North America, and they sold over 1 million units in a week. And that's insane, considering that there was only 10.6 million units sold worldwide before it was discontinued. And it was a great console. It's a very capable console, even for today. And then in 2000, they heard about the PlayStation 2. Now, that just took all the wind out of the sales for the Dreamcast. And Sega started getting desperate, so they started slashing prices. They tried to get people to join their online network, which I'll get into that in a little bit. And it ultimately did not work for them, and they had to shelve the Dreamcast in 2001 and get out of the hardware business because they just ran out of money for it. And you gotta see that making consoles, the research and development, the marketing, and all of that stuff put together for a console is a good $1 billion for each release, and that's ultimately what doomed Sega, was all of these add-ons and all these consoles being released all at once. It just finally caught up to them at the worst time when they had a great system, but it just didn't work for them in the long run. So let's actually look at the console itself. Processor is a Hitachi SH4. I don't know why I have that memorized. I'm such a geek. And it's a 32-bit processor. Now, they advertised this. This was pretty much the last console to really advertise bits as power. They say that it was 128 bits, but the graphics processor is actually 128 bits, not the regular main processor. So, I mean, it's kind of inaccurate, kind of accurate, whatever. On the front here, you got a power button. I'm guessing you know what that does. You got an open button, and I love how cinematic it is whenever you open it. It slowly opens up. I just think that's cool. Let's do it one more time. That's just cool. It's got the Dreamcast logo on it. There are many different versions of the Dreamcast, most notably the Sega Sports Dreamcast, which was all black, which looked really cool. And in Europe, they had the Dreamcast with the blue swirl because there was a company that there, I forget what its name was, but it started with a T and it had the orange swirl design, so they had to revamp their logo in Europe, which I honestly thought that looked a lot better than the orange swirl that we got in Japan and North America. On the front, you got something that wasn't really heard of. Even the the PlayStation 2 got this wrong. It was the 4 ports on the front. Now, Atari did this first, actually. The 5200 initially came out with a 4-port console, but, you know, they downgraded and got 2 ports because of that stupid RF adapter thing. Nintendo 64 did it in 1996, and I guess Sega saw that and saw all these multi-tap adapters that people were buying up, and they just thought that, you know, they shouldn't waste their money on something to get 4-player games and just have it right out of the box. Speaking right out of the box, look on the side here, you got like this thing right here. On the other side it doesn't look like that. But then you look at the back. Now, nothing really unusual here. You got AC power in, you got your AV out, and you got a serial port. Now, the serial port wasn't used for too many things. There was I think in Japan there was like a link cable to link 2 Dreamcast together, which I don't think really saw much of a use. But something else special on the back, and it's right here. It's line. Now, this is where you can put in a phone cord. Those old ones, the old copper wire ones, and you plug it in, and you can go online with your Sega Dreamcast right out of the box. This wasn't just some sort of add-on that you could buy in the store for like 50 bucks. No, it was built into the system right out of the box. That's crazy for 1999, because you know you still had 56K. There wasn't a lot of broadband, you know, nationwide, at least for the general population. It just wasn't feasible. They, however, did release a broadband adapter late in the console's lifespan, so they're pretty rare to find. But these are insanely easy to find. I mean, pretty much any new Sega Dreamcast you can find will probably have this. If it doesn't, that's kind of stupid. Why would you get rid of this? But you can take it off, and it's got an expansion port, which is really, it's just for this. It's just for the modem. I don't think it was really used for anything else, not to my knowledge. But then you could get something that looks like this, but it has a LAN instead of line at the front, and it would have a broadband connection, which I would love to have, because I don't want to bring up the phone bill going online with my Sega Dreamcast. And I would like to join some of those private servers that they have. Oh, also, the online community for Sega Dreamcast is still going strong. They've got like 6 games still online with private servers that you can use Action Replay with, Codebreaker, one of those discs, and you can input your own IPs and, you know, go online. I wish they would do that with Sega GT, because I think that would be pretty cool to have a racing game online. Well, I mean, they do. They have 4x4 Evolution, but that's not really a great. Next up is the controller. The controller I actually really like. It's very comfortable to hold. And a lot of people complain because Sony, prior to this, released their DualShock controller, I think in 1998. And people wondered why there was only 2. I think this is the only 6th generation console that did not have 2 analog sticks. But it doesn't really matter, because because the games that were made for the Dreamcast were made around this control scheme, so it's not really a big bother to me. A lot of people say that the plastic is really like hard and like hard to, you know, use, but the only complaints that I have is that I wish that it was concave instead of convex, but I mean, that's fine. I mean, it grips pretty well. The little plastic balls on there help it, you know, keep traction on your phone. And the D-pad is not the greatest, but I mean, it still works. You don't really use them. You don't really use the D-pad for too many games. Then you got triggers, A, B, X, Y, standard configuration. That's not going to show up very well on the green screen, I can tell. And then you got some expansion ports right here. Now this is where you put your memory card. They didn't have any memory card ports on the Sega Dreamcast itself. You had to put them in here. And the main memory card is pretty cool. It's the VMU, virtual memory unit. And it had its own little D-pad and A and B. It's kind of funny because the D-pad is better than the one on the and it's got its own screen. Now you could link these up with another VMU and then trade saves. But you could also put it in a watch battery, and when you're playing like games, you can download little mini games onto this and play little. Sonic Adventure had a Chow Tamagotchi type of game, which is pretty cool. And you have another slot in the back. I mean, you could put. Gosh, now it doesn't want to come out. You could put your VMU in the back. That just doesn't look right. It really doesn't. But they did have 4X memory cards. Like it didn't have any screen or anything like that. It would have 4 LEDs on the top, and it'd have a little button. So it would basically act like you have 4 memory cards. And so that's pretty cool. I think they even went up to like 8X memory cards at one point. I think Game Shark did that once, which is crazy. But there were other peripherals that went into the slot, like a microphone, and that's vital for the game Seaman, which I really want to get that game, but it is way too freaking expensive on eBay. There's no way I'm gonna find it like at a game store around here or anything like that. So that's my only bet. Get it, but you know, I really want to review that game. That's gonna be fun to review once I get it. Now the wire comes out of the bottom, which is kind of weird, but they put this little notch here so that you could so it face front, which is a good idea. And so you'd have this. It's a little broken, but whatever. And you plug it in, and yeah, you can play. A cool thing on the front here, it says that it's compatible with Windows CE. Now, Microsoft and Sega were partners in developing this system, and their ideas, I don't know if like all their ideas were implemented into the system, but Microsoft had the idea of implementing Windows CE into the base operating system, so that it would be much easier to develop games for it. Which there is a version of Windows CE in this, but it's overridden by the Sega Dreamcast BIOS. So you don't see it. It's running in the background, but only a few. I think only a few games really took advantage of it. But I mean, it's still cool because a lot of the dev kits use Windows 98, so it was a lot easier to port those games from a PC over to a Dreamcast. And it was built with arcade parts in mind. So it was compatible with the Sega Naomi board for arcade titles like Crazy Taxi, Sega Rally 2. I don't know if Sega Rally 2 was on Naomi, but I know Crazy Taxi was. And that made porting games even more easy for arcade titles. And I think that's pretty cool. That it was easy to port games that was already existing, put it onto a home console, and don't have to go out to the arcade, which was ultimately the death of the arcade. But it sucks that the Dreamcast was so short-lived. I think it would have had great potential if Sega would have just kept their ducks in a row throughout the Genesis and Sega Saturn years, but ultimately we can't change the past. But I mean, it's not a terrible loss. The Sega Dreamcast has a great development scene, like independent developers, which started around 2003-2004. It didn't pick up steam until much later on, until probably like 2012, when a lot of releases started coming out for it from these independent developers. Now you gotta see this from a perspective of someone who's actually developing stuff for this. they know that they're not going to be making a profit off of selling their games for the Sega Dreamcast. Only a select few are going to actually buy independent games for the Sega Dreamcast. I mean, there are 10.6 million consoles in circulation right now, but you know, I don't think 10.6 million people are going to be buying a Sega Dreamcast game in 2016. So, if you are going to develop games for this, which I kind of toyed around with the idea, but I just don't think that it'll really work with me. But if you are going to be developing games for this, just remember, you are not going to be making money off of this. Sorry, you're not. It's kind of reality. But yeah, Sega Dreamcast, one of the best consoles really of all time. And it's not because, you know, it was Sega's last console. No, it's because they actually got their crap together after the Sega Saturn failing and all the stupid add-ons for the Sega Genesis. But it was just at a terrible time, and you know, they couldn't recover from it. There are a lot of awesome games for this thing. I mean, if you're going to get a Sega Dreamcast, you gotta get the good games like Sega Rally 2, Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur, which I really want. But yeah, that's about it for this episode of the Jimbles Gaming Show. Thank you all for watching. Like if you liked, if you disliked, if you didn't, comment below, wish, pleasure, displeasure, and subscribe if you want to see more content similar to this one. Thank you all for watching. Stay Flame Rose. Have a good time.